Hi guys, my name's Andrea Wylan. I'm a trader success coach and I work with traders on psychology and discipline and helping you when you get stuck and you can't follow your trading plan, helping you get through that so that you can be successful. So what I want to talk about today, I just did a blog on this. So it's on my blog, which is called Creating Enlightened Traders. Creating Enlightened Traders, if you want to Google that and look at my articles. But the article was on that there's, in my opinion, there's actually two types of trading education that we want to get. So most traders, if they're lucky, get a complete education from an established school, a great mentor, or they do a lot of reading or whatever it is that you do to learn how to trade. Hopefully there's some structure that you're learning and not just diving into the market. There's a strategy, right? So we need to find a strategy, we need to learn it, we need to get really good at it to be able to trade. And they say that we want, is it 4,000, 40,000? I think it's 4,000 hours in front of the screens, right, to really get practice. So in my blog, what I'm saying is that there's two types of training that we need, in my opinion, in my experience in working with traders and helping them get through some of this stuff. So one is learning the technicals, learning the actual how to trade part, and that's really not that difficult, right? It's a formula. Have a plan, follow the strategy, have a strategy and put it into a plan and follow it. The second type of education that I have found is critical with most traders that's not happening, which is why 95% of traders are not making money, is the psychological part. So where I went to school, I went to a large trading academy and I learned how to trade in a week. I spent all my money and, had a solid 40-hour week. It was great education, but there wasn't really a lot of psychology going on, really not any. And so what happens, and it's in this profession, I don't really know of any other professions that are like this, but there's so much at stake and you can make or lose money so easily, and therefore becomes very emotional, right? When you get into a trade and it's up or down $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 in a matter of seconds or minutes, depending on what you're trading and how much, right? It's incredibly emotional, and that ends up triggering stuff inside of us. People aren't ready for that. We're not learning how to handle our emotions in most trading schools. We're learning the technicals. I mean, how many of you guys, first of all, how many of you have a trading plan? And how many of you have it in writing? That's critical. It's a foundation. It's like putting a foundation in for a house. If you don't put the foundation in, the whole thing crumbles. You need a plan. And this video is not about that, but I'll just say that you need a plan that you develop when you're not in the middle of the trade, when you're not in the middle of the emotion, right? The plan is set, it's tested in the simulator, you know it works, and then you take it into the live market. But just because you have a plan doesn't mean that you can follow it. It's like having a diet plan. How many of you have been on a diet or tried to stop smoking or tried to stop doing something else? And maybe you get a day or two or a month into it and then it blows up, goes to hell, right? So what in us is not able to follow the plan? That's the psychology, that's the discipline. How do you deal with it? First of all, you become aware that that's what the problem is. The problem is not usually the market, it's not the charts, it's not necessarily what you're trading. Sometimes it's trading size, sometimes we trade too much. And that's a problem, but that's a psychological problem, right? So my message is, if you're not where you want to be trading, if you're experiencing an inability to discipline yourself and to follow your plan, this is a psychological This is a mindset issue, and you need education on that. That's my belief. That's my experience. I've helped a lot of traders through these blocks to get to a place where they become successful if they're willing to put in the work and commit to it. It's not easy work, because this is, what I'm talking about is facing yourself. It's facing your past, traumas that have happened in the past that you don't want to deal with, or you're even a lot of times not even aware of it. So I can ask a few questions often of people and poke around in the past and get to a place where there's an aha of something that has happened in our past that is displaying itself trading in the market. For example, I talk about this when there's a webinar that I do on this topic, and I talk about a guy that I worked with who had been trading for 20 years when he came to me. He really wanted to be successful, but he had an incredible difficulty staying in a trade. When he was in a trade, he would feel like he was trapped, and he used that language quite a bit. Even if the trade was green and he was making money, he would feel trapped and he would want to get out of the trade. Well, in having some conversations about this, we tied that experience into when he was a baby. He had been in a situation with another person where he was trapped. He was physically trapped, and he could have died, and he felt that. And that trauma, if it's not dealt with, well, first of all, he had that experience when he was 6 months old. He also had another experience of being trapped when he was 2, right? And so those experiences live in the body. They get kind of put into the body so that we can handle them, because it's too terrifying. If you have a situation like that, let's say you're 2 or 3 or 4, and your mom sits you down and says, "Oh, honey, that was so scary. I'm so sorry that happened, but you're going to be okay." The body releases it, and it's okay. But if it's not sort of dealt with, I'm getting into too much detail here, but if it's not dealt with, it goes into the body and becomes part of the subconscious. And it protects us. We can get rid of it into the body, right? But what happens? It's still in there 50, 60 years later. When you start trading and emotion comes up, these are the sorts of things that can happen. So what happened with him, when we were able to identify it and give him a way to release that, it didn't have to play out in the market anymore. And then he's able to follow his plan, and then he's able to make money and be successful trading. So it sounds a little bit weird, but there's so many situations where whatever it was that happened in someone's past is playing out almost exactly, word for word, like feeling trapped when you're little and then feeling trapped in the market. It's got nothing, they're not related, but that's how our subconscious brings them to us in our adult life. And if this stuff isn't dealt with, it comes out and it bites you in the butt, and it equals having large losses and losing money. So the point is, as I said, if you're not successful, if you're losing money, if you're struggling, if you keep doing the same behaviors that you don't want to be, that you're not following your plan, and over and over you say, okay, on Monday I'm going to do this differently, I'm going to get control of myself. Mostly this stuff, it's like breaking a habit or stopping smoking. It doesn't usually work real well to just say, okay, I'm going to get control of this, right? Especially with trading. So if you're in that situation, consider that you may want a whole second, trading degree on your mindset and your psychology, and not just having the technicals of how I trade. So you can work with someone like myself who does this specifically. You can work with a therapist. You can start meditating or deep breathing exercises. There's a lot of stuff out there to start to help you with this. One of the ways that I start working with my clients is to have them become aware when they're trading, to become aware of how they're feeling, what their thoughts are, if they're being really negative, if there's a lot of fear, what's happening in the body, what the sensations are in the body. And so you're bringing some of your attention onto yourself and into your body, and not just on the market, right? We get really focused on the strategy and the charts and what's happening with the news, and almost like the longer a trader sits there, the more focused they get into the chart, starting to hope that it's going to do this or do that or go up or go down. But the more you can pull back from that and put some of that focus onto yourself, what's happening inside of me? Am I in a place where I even should be trading right now? If you're sick, if you're upset, if you're overly tired, if you've gotten in a fight with your spouse, there's a lot of situations where you really shouldn't be trading, right? Trading it's a little bit of a strange bird, because in most jobs, the more work you do, the harder you work, the more time you put in, the more successful you are, the more money you make. It's not like that in trading. Sometimes the more time we put in, the more effort, the more we lose what we just made, or the less likely we are to be disciplined. And again, that's a whole other topic, and I have that conversation a lot with people. There's a work ethic, especially in the United States. I got to work really hard. I got to sit here and trade for 8 hours. No, you don't. It's almost like the longer that you trade and the more hours you put in, for a lot of people, that actually makes it worse. But these are beliefs. These are ways that we have worked in all of our other careers, and so we bring all that stuff to the trading, and that's part of your psychology. Your beliefs from the past and how work is supposed to be is part of your psychology. So look at that and ask yourself, do I need some training or some self-awareness in my psychology and in my discipline, so that I can follow my plan and I can trade my strategy without going off the deep end and exploding? That's the question. If you'd like to have a consultation with me, I'm happy to do that and talk about your situation and what I do, and if I might be able to help you. I will put my contact information below and my blog, and I hope to do some live videos in the future after I've gotten some experience with these videos, and then you guys can ask me questions directly. So thank you. See you next time.